It is 7 o'clock, and I call the meeting to order. Welcome to the Joint Advisory Board Selectmen meeting to discuss the articles for the special town meeting slated for Monday, October 17th. The advisory board is now in session. Michael, I recognize you for your board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, we're joined by Steve Darcy, which is our chair, and Lynn Fiddler, who is our newest member to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Kilcoyne is unable to be with us this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just a few housekeeping notes before we start. The meeting is for information gathering. It is not the forum to tell us if you're for or against an article. All questions must go through me, much like the town meeting and the moderator. As I call on you, state your name and address and ask your question. Seeing none, or after doing our best to resolve all questions, we will move on to the next article. The articles will be read in their entirety at the town meeting in October. Tonight, I will be highlighting the article based upon the description in the table of contents, which is an unnumbered page directly before page 1. I will then go to the sponsor of that particular article for an explanation. In the past, this has expedited the process, but still allowing for discussion if needed. Typically, we go to Article 1, but I'm going to jump to Article 8 for Harbor Master DeMayo because he has a meeting with the fishermen. So, Harbor Master DeMayo.
Thank you. So Article 8 is the same article that was presented at the last town meeting that was passed over. Since this time, we have done working on some dredging projects and permits. Part of that is mixing old dredge coils with new dredge coils. We decided to test the whole PSA again and make sure it's safe for all of the residents and people that will be utilizing that area potentially. Other than that, that's the same project as what it's doing before in front of CPC and town meeting.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road, what is the $126,000 for?
That is for the
Specifically?
Hold on, go ahead.
That is for the walking trail around the perimeter of the PSA.
That's to build the trail, am I understanding that right?
Is that correct?
Yes, same as it was at last town meeting.
Has it been approved by any other board or committee?
Hold on a second. The advisory board has not, the advisory board has not met to vote on these yet, so.
But last I heard, the Trails Committee turned down the project.
I'm not aware of that. Are you aware of that at all?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Is the trail, does that include cost to make it ADA compliant? I'd like to know.
Do you have that answer?
It absolutely does.
So that makes it ADA compliant, but it's the same project. Interesting, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Harbor Master DeMayo. We will move on to Article 1. And Michael.
Mr. Chairman, this is a standard article. These are bills that were presented for payment after the end of the fiscal year. The only way to pay those bills is to come to town meeting. Takes 9/10 vote to pay the bills.
Thank you. Any questions on this article? Seeing none, Article 2. Hold on a second. Actually, let me read this. Article 2, which is personal bylaw compensation. Michael.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is a standard. Anyone that goes to the special town meeting sees this. We pay the bylaw employees the same as we pay the collective bargaining. So the collective bargaining contract, we're in our third year, it's at 3%. So the collective bargaining employees will get it 3%. And this chart adjusts for the 3%.
Great, thank you. Any questions on this article? Yes.
Pasevich, Wilson Road, I'd like to know, Mr. Chairman, when was the last time there was a step increase?
Do you have that answer, Michael?
A step increase as opposed to a COLA.
Yeah, well,
So we adjust.
COLA or step increase?
This is a COLA, so we adjust the, Mr. Pasevich, we adjust the personnel bylaw employees every year in the fall so that their compensation mirrors what the collective bargaining folks get.
Thanks, I'll digest that.
All right. Seeing any other questions on this article? Seeing none, we'll jump to Article 3, adopt Schedule B for personal bylaws. Michael.
So we're adding an increase in the animal inspector. The animal inspector goes out and does the inventory of the animals in the barns. We have about 172 barns and thousands of animals that have to be counted every year. And we had to add sealer of weights and measures because normally the Commonwealth's been doing this, and actually they've been doing it for 10 years longer or 20 years longer than they should have. Once your population reaches 20,000, you're supposed to do your own. So they just noticed that our population is like 25,000 and change. So they notified us in April that we had to get our own, so we hired the same individual that does our surrounding towns. And the $5,000 is his fee, and then he bills, and then money comes into us and it sort of wipes out his $5,000 cost.
Great. Thank you. Any questions on this article?
Next one. Like, does he have his own equipment?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so we don't have to buy anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Any other questions on this article? Seeing none, we'll move to Article 4, which is Fund Town Infrastructure Repairs. Michael?
So this is a standard article, as folks know. We went out in July after the special and the annual to borrow. And when you borrow, this is the money, for lack of a better word, this is the vig on the money they give you for, getting the loan. And that money then goes into infrastructure, so it has to be used to a like project, goes into infrastructure. This money, the facilities director uses that between the schools and the town, and the infrastructure account does not expire at the end of the fiscal year, it stays there. And infrastructure is just that, it's replacing doors and windows, something substantial. It's not painting, it's not cleaning, et cetera.
Great. Well, it's football season, so a lot of people are probably familiar with the VIG. Any questions on Article 4?
Yeah, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. I've always found this pretty vague. What's the title of the account that it goes into? Is it actually in the town report found under infrastructure account?
Do you have that answer, Michael?
I'll confer with the treasurer to see.
Thank you.
It would be in a bond premium account.
It goes into a bond premium account.
It's called the bond premium, so if I want to see how much is in there, I look up bond premium account, Mr. Chairman?
Is that?
It's a GL, it's tied to a GL. Unfortunately, I don't know what the GL number is, but I can get that to you. Would you just make a note
Yeah.
that I need to get?
I'd like to know how much is in it now, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
unfortunately, Mr. Pasevich, but I will get you the answer to
We'll get you
that question.
information as
You
well.
may have followed up by asking, we put aside about $1 million from the overrides into, which I understood was for town hall renovations.
There was no override, there was
The
a,
override, we had money left over.
that was a debt exclusion. You're referring, so the debt, I believe, Mr. Chairman, if I
Yeah,
may.
please, thank you.
So I believe, Mr. Pasevich, yes, so that was from the senior project. Senior project went out to bid, it was a capital project. Funds that are left over, those funds have to go to a like project. So town meeting approved those to go to the town hall project, and we'll put that towards the renovation of the new bathrooms, a new chamber, and some other reconfiguration in a 50-year-old building. Those are the original bathrooms.
Now, is that money, Mr. Chairman, in a different account from this infrastructure account?
Yes, that is in a
Yeah,
different
that's-
account, yes.
All right, all set? All right. Any further questions on Article 4? Seeing none, Article 5, transfer from free cash line items. Is this you, Michael?
Yes, so this is free cash. We don't have to go to borrow for these. It's a cost savings to the taxpayers. And we have a number of needs this year. It runs the gambit. We have the standard school maintenance and town maintenance in here for $200,000. We went out to bid on the new cleaning contract, and the lowest bidder was, we have a new company. They were $30,000 more than what we paid. They'll probably do better cleaning and stuff like that, so there's $30,000 there. We have a match to airport grant that we have to match. We're adding additional $150,000 for DPW for gas and diesel fuel with the rising cost of fuel. We're adding some money for utilities. We're doing professional services, selectman's office, harbor master boat equipment, bulletproof vest, school generators, which is a major one. We're putting 4 generators in the electrical upgrades at 4 schools. I believe it's Daniel Webster, Governor Winslow, South River, and Amesway. We're also ice machine for the harbor master on the pier for the fishermen. We have some tree cutting money set aside so that we're better stewards of caring for the conservation land on trees. We've had a number of dead trees come down during storms that have caused power outages to the neighbors. They're not happy about that. We have the $120,000 for the Brant Rock final design for the bullnose in Brant Rock. That's being funded out of this. DPW crane for $95,000. That's sort of a,
Okay, great. Any questions on this article? Yes.
Chairman Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. I'm wondering at town meeting, maybe the moderator can say something about this too. Are we gonna go by these line by line? Like, question
Yeah.
one, question,
I got you. Don, do you have an answer for that question?
Don Gibson, 815 Union Street, Town Moderator. I would try to,
32.
32, I would go by department number, and that item number seems a good reference point as well. So I would take them all individually. If there's a question or a hold, we'll come back to it.
Great.
Well, I have maybe somebody can give me some specific answers right now, possibly, on a couple of things. Mr. Chairman, I wonder about select board personnel. What does that represent? Does that represent raises, or does it represent the town administrator, or what is that money for?
Do you have an answer for that, Michael?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. So we have a retirement. Beverly Wiedemann's retiring after 25 years, so we'll be hiring a new person. We're going to be paying an extra person for a couple of months on training, plus we'll be reimbursing Beverly for unused vacation and sick time and any other time accrued to her, so that's what the $40,000 will cover.
Thank you.
The other question I have, Mr. Chairman, is about the comment, rather, school maintenance and town maintenance. That's referred to as a standard item, but it seems like there have been some additional amounts allocated, like at the last couple of town meetings. I just want to say, I wish there was more transparency in discussion of what this actually is for. It's nice that things get repaired and new things get built, and everybody goes, oh, I guess, it encourages apathy is what I'm trying to say. If you could just give more
I
transparency.
think if you ask that question at town meeting, they'd probably get some more
Yeah,
transparency
and
there.
And the last thing I
And
want
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes,
just
go
on
ahead.
that, so there is a report, Mr. Pasevich, if you go on the town's website, there's a facility, the facility director has a very detailed report, every single building, everything that was done in those buildings, and the cost breakdown by building, so. And we'll be putting the new one up, which very shortly, in the next couple of days, that will be part of my town meeting information, the warrant and the facilities director report.
Good, look forward to see that. Now, the other thing I want to ask, if I may, is airport FAA grant match, item 14, $350,000. That kind of pops out. It's kind of eye-popping to me, because the last time we had a $19, $20 million expansion of the airport, the local share was, I think, $180,000. So for $180,000, we got a federal matching grant that amounted to like $19 million. Incredible project. And now I'm seeing $350,000, and I wonder, wow, what's the match there? And what do they have in mind?
Do you have an answer for that,
I
Michael?
can, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
thank you. So, Mr. Pasevich, the airport is undertaking a FAA required improvement. They're reconstructing the main terminal apron, which is 13,255 square yards. They're reconstructing the taxi lanes, approximately 9,056 square yards, reconstructing the access road, approximately 1,040 square yards, and they're reconstructing the east ramp for displaced aircraft, which is approximately 5,000 square yards. The FAA is contributing $5.674 million, and the town's share of that is $350,000.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to get some more details on that and see if it changes anything.
Thank you. Any further questions on Article 5? Yes.
Is,
Name and address.
Eric,
please.
yes, Eric Kelly, Peterson Path. In regards to the airport matching grant, are there any conditions from the federal government attached to that?
Not that I'm aware of.
And,
And just to be sure, it's not a matching grant, it's a match to the grant, so it's not a dollar for dollar.
all right, and in regards to the
Mr. Callen, being told by town council that there will be standard provisions.
meaning,
There are grant conditions on any federal funds that are.
that's what I
given to the
figured.
airport.
So is that available?
There is no grant agreement yet, but when that becomes available, it will be public record.
So are you saying the grant agreement, meeting at town meeting, and then we get it, or how do we get those provisions?
How do you get it? You request it in writing from the airport commission when it comes. There isn't one yet, to my knowledge. When it comes, it's typically reviewed by me. There's a number of grant assurances that have to be given by the airport commissioners. There's a number of representations concerning its authority, things like that, but that's something that exists.
So-
Anytime they receive federal
Questions
funds.
to me, Mr. Kelly, please? Thank you.
Sorry.
That's good.
Anytime there's federal funds, there's a grant agreement, and it's a fairly standardized form, tailored for specific projects.
Any further questions?
So I guess what I'm asking is, when will those provisions be available?
Do you have that answer?
I don't know the answer to that question yet.
Is it gonna be before town meeting?
I doubt it, but I don't know specifically. I don't know when that grant is gonna come through. I'm sure it's not gonna happen unless the town appropriates the funds.
That seems like a problem right there. So the town or the taxpayers is paying $350,000 for X amount of money from the federal government. What is the town's take from the airport, I guess? How much money does the town get from the airport in regards to its operations?
Do you have that information?
I don't, Mr. Kelly, but we will, if you make a note, I will get you what they have. We have a lease with the airport. Shoreline Aviation manages the airport on behalf of the town. We own the land.
Yes.
And we own the main terminal. They operate the business, and they own the planes.
Thank you.
Is that lease available for public viewing?
Yeah, lease is public. I can get, would you like a copy of that?
I would.
You send me a written request, and we'll get you a copy of that.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I think I'm good on everything else at the moment.
That's it. Paul?
Other generators for the school, how much capacity are they supposed to cover? Just kind
They'll-
of understanding the reason
they'll-
for all the generators.
They'll run the school.
100% capacity.
Yeah, the biggest cost of it is not the generator. The biggest cost is upgrading the electrical to handle the generator and be able to switch on and off.
So power outages, all these schools have 100% power.
Any further questions on Article 5? Seeing none, we're going to move on to Article 6, purchase of property at 255 Furnace Street. And that is, I guess you go to Michael first?
So and I know that Mr. Miller's here, so I'm going to defer to him to the finer points, but the school is interested in purchasing 255 Furnace, which is the Coptic Church. If you go on the website to Malise Realty, you can see what it looks like inside. They would like to use it for pre-K, and they had the building inspected, and we're waiting to get the final cost on that, so there'll be a cost to purchase the building and the cost to make some improvements, and we inspect all the buildings. And they gotta make a change in the septic, they gotta put a larger holding tank in for the septic, so.
Thank you. Any questions on Article 6?
I have a question. Is there like a specific appropriation for this, if there's no sort of amount being?
There isn't until once the Realtor and the town agrees on a price, there'll be that, and then there'll be the cost to renovate, and then we'll borrow for all of that.
And so will there be an opportunity to do that cost at the end? Or
Yes, yeah, we'll have it before town meetings, we'll have all the cost and,
for the whole time?
before town meeting, correct, yes.
What's the status of the project that we talked to the neighbors? And
What's it, sorry?
what's the status of the sort of background of this particular project?
The project or the rationale for the purchase, or is that?
Both,
Yeah, so our preschool has been separated in two buildings for many years, and it's moved around from four of the 5 elementary schools. This year, it's actually in Ames Way for the first time. It's been a goal of ours to try to bring a preschool in one location. So the three main reasons that we're looking at this property is that one would be to bring preschool together. The second is the opportunity to potentially expand the preschool. And right now, we only offer 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the afternoon. It's really not available for working families. A goal eventually would be to do a full preschool where the whole community could be, everybody would have an opportunity. And then thirdly, this is probably later than sooner, but universal pre-K is on the way. So when, 40 years ago, kindergarten didn't exist. Kindergarten came along, then kindergarten was mandated. Many states have already put in universal pre-K. It's where we would have to offer pre-K to all the preschool students of age 3 to 5. This sets us up better in the future, where we wouldn't have to build a new building. It's basically almost a turnkey operation. If you go on release, you can see it's already decked out. The contents come with the building. Initially were really interested to try to make it happen for this school year, but it didn't work out. But really, a long-term plan, it will, I know it's going to be, obviously going to be a cost involved, but I think for everybody in town, it really is a sign that we're planning for the future at a small dollar value versus if you take a look at what new schools are being built for, they're extremely costly. So that's the impetus for the whole project.
All set, Mark? Okay, any further questions on that article?
Joe,
Yes, sir.
I just want to, maybe a piece of advice. I remember when the church there was trying to expand in front of the zoning board, and it was kind of contentious. The neighbors were having issues with the possibility of noise. There was another issue with regards to being a WRPD. Mr. Guimond knows more about that. And also, maybe if we could know what the capacity is that you expect there.
Do you have that information, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say that right at this time. It wouldn't be a major expansion. I mean, we have to would probably do some work in the interior just to make it fit a little bit better classroom-wise. They put some walls up there, but potentially, if it all works out, that would be the opportunity. But we haven't got that far along the process yet.
All set. Any other further questions on that article? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Yes, R. Kelly, Peterson Path. I haven't heard the school committee have a discussion on this. Would I be correct?
It's executive session because it's under negotiation. This is the first time this is in the warrant.
Well, why would it be under executive? What are they negotiating? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that are attached to this. I mean, you got to staff the building, right? You're going to have a principal and all that and everything.
No, the only.
Town council might be the best person to answer.
Yeah, so there's been no agreement on a price,
Yeah, it's not.
and price is under negotiation, price and terms.
I wasn't looking at price-wise. It's just the project, I mean, excuse me. I mean, one, we're looking at purchasing a piece of property, but I haven't heard discussions on any other possible alternatives.
It's still an executive session until there's a complete agreement. There's no agreement to purchase the property yet.
Yes, it's a discussion. What I'm saying is that they're looking at a piece of property, but I haven't heard any discussion from the committee in regards to expanding for the pre-K. What other alternatives are out there in regards to?
I think you're hearing Mr. Miller's evaluation of the future needs of the program.
Yeah, the committee hasn't voted on that. If we did anything like that, the committee would vote in the future.
Obviously, I think we're missing a point. We're going in here, and when I read this, I'm like, holy mackerel! I didn't know this was even a thought. Like I'm saying, they're going into possibly purchasing a piece of property, but what other alternatives before we do this are there? Anything with the other schools or anything like that? So all right. When's it? I guess I should ask, when is this going to be out of?
2 minutes, please.
I'll leave that to, I mean, if we.
If and when we come to an agreement, the agreement will be public, and I'm sure that you could ask any questions you want.
Well, it's not so many questions. I want to see the school committee discuss it in public in regards to this. And ask
That
questions.
discussion won't take place in public until there are agreed terms and conditions.
See, this is the problem. All right,
It's
thank you.
actually-
But I did hear a reference, Mr. Kelly, to expanded staff, and right now, we would simply move our existing staff to that building. The only additional staffing would be maybe a part-time custodian to clean the building, and potentially a a nurse that's needed anyway for the program if they were housed in one area. But other than that, all the staffing would be the same.
Who's gonna be the overseer of it? Principal?
The early childhood director.
You know that, Tom?
Director? All right.
All set?
At the moment, thank you.
All right. Any further questions on Article 6? Seeing none, we move to Article 7, CPC funds for generators at Grace Rider and T-Rock Gardens.
Do you want me to answer that, Mr. Chairman?
So Kevin's not here, so
No.
anybody here from CPC? Nope.
So it's a very simple, what they want to do is they want to put generators in two of the housing complexes. They want to put in Grace Rider and T-Rock Garden. They don't have generators whenever the power goes out. There are people there with those oxygen converter machines, and those people suffer greatly. Housing Authority and Affordable Housing, I think it's a good idea. CPC will use funds in the 10% set aside for affordable to fund the installation of 2 generators and electric upgrades for these 2 facilities.
Thank you. Any questions on Article 7?
Yes.
Good.
Positive star, same thing, 100% capacity.
That I don't know because they're not my buildings, they're the Housing Authority's buildings.
Questions on Article 7? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article 9. Increase fiscal year 2023 wastewater budget appropriation. I'm going to go to Tom Reynolds. Article 9, Tom.
Number 9 is, we had an emergency when we were doing the Plymouth Ave force main. We found Second Road to be in dire need. The liner was the only thing that was left of the pipe, so that we needed to use the emergency line item. Then we had the contractor in town, he didn't charge us a mobilization fee. So what we're asking for is to reestablish that emergency line with this $100,000.
Thank you. Any questions on Article 9? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article 10, reappropriation of unexpended funds, Spring Street. Tom.
This is a, to transfer unexpended funds from a water main project on Spring Street and move over to Dyke Road to replace the water main is hung from the ceiling of the culvert. So this is more of a housekeeping item.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions on Article 10?
Yeah.
Good. Paul?
Tom, I'm just trying to understand, what was the difference between this and what we voted on in spring? The same Spring Road?
Oh, we withdrew this article, we passed over this article in the spring.
Oh, okay, all right.
We were gonna use it for Surf Avenue, but that's an opera project and you can't commingle without town meeting vote.
So we didn't pass that?
Yeah, no, we didn't, we passed over it.
Great, thank you. Any further questions on Article 10? Seeing none, Article 11, reappropriation of unexpended funds, Plymouth Ave. Tom?
Yes, the DPW requested $3 million bond for Plymouth Avenue, and we bonded $2 million of it. The remaining $1 million we'd like to move to a sewer main replacement project. And because we're going to be applying for SRF and ARPA funds to do the pump station.
Any questions on Article 11?
On the Plymouth Ave, $3 million is the total for this repair, the sewer and the water?
No, the total for the repair included rehab of the Plymouth Ave pump station. We get, through the ARPA, we got 1.7 for Surf Ave, and we're eligible for 2.3 for Plymouth Ave. And we also are going to apply for SRS funding. The total project is about $8 million.
Plymouth Ave, Second Ave, and the upgrade.
And the upgrade to the pump station. That $1 million that we're reallocating, we have a lot of 50-year-old asbestos concrete pipe in the marshes, and salt water and concrete don't adhere very well to each other, so we need to go out and replace a lot of this line, and that's what we're using this $1 million.
Yeah, Mark?
Is there a specific plan with plans or what you intend to do with the one?
Yes, we do have a plan.
Can we get that just?
Certainly,
Because
certainly.
I'm going to be working with you on this one, so I'll connect with you on it.
Sure, no problem.
Great, thank you. Michael, yes, something to
Mr.
add?
Chairman, the only thing I
Yes.
wanted to add, the selectmen, with their ARPA funds, we got $5,038,000. The selectmen appropriated $4 million ARPA funds to DPW to do these upgrades, and the DPW is making hay while we have the money. We don't have to borrow. The ARPA funds were available, and they were given to the city and town, so it's being reinvested.
Great, thank you. Any further questions on Article 11? Seeing none, move on to Article 12, ARPA funding for repairs to wastewater drainage systems. Tom?
Yes, this is a requirement of ARPA in order to commingle town funds, any other state funding, SRF, State Revolving Fund, Water Abatement Trust. In order to use any of those money to commingle on an ARPA project, it requires a vote at town meeting to authorize that use.
Great, thank you. Any questions on Article 12? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to Article 13, a citizen's petition, a resolution by Anna Baker. Like to speak?
Oh, sure. Am I allowed to hand a pamphlet out to you, or is that,
I'll defer to
What's that?
out to all of you?
I don't think there's rules. I don't know. Are there, Bob?
It's up to you if you
Yeah,
want.
sure, you bet.
Okay, this is
Bring
part
it
of a national movement, so this is a pamphlet on the back from the movement that I'd like, I have some for any audience members, I'll leave on the back.
Great, thank you.
So, I'll just have you-
Thank you.
Why don't you just hand it, we can pass it out.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
So thank you for the opportunity to speak. Over the last 30 years, we've been really able to get away with denying the threat of nuclear weapons, that they even exist. But as the war in Ukraine has pointed out, the potential for nuclear war is very real, unfortunately. And so this resolution is part of a national effort. It's growing from the grassroots up, from local towns. There are 18 towns across Massachusetts that have already passed this resolution, and there are many municipalities in the resolution. It'll list some of the municipalities that have already passed them: Washington, D.C., Boston City Council, City of Los Angeles, State of Oregon, California, Maine legislature. There are 60 of those large municipalities, and there are many towns within the states that are growing. And the resolution essentially, just to boil it all down, calls on federal leaders to take immediate steps to prevent nuclear war. And it does so in these 5 steps that are listed in that brochure. For example, one of them is that we wouldn't, as a country, ever use nuclear weapons first. We would agree to try not to limit the threat of nuclear war. We would not use them first in any situation. We would limit the authority of any president of the United States to launch nuclear weapons with unchecked sole authority. So in other words, the president would have to verify with his colleagues or his counterparts before pulling the trigger. Right now, he can do it as a sole authority. And there are 3 other, like upgrading the nuclear arsenal is also one of the 3 platforms. Right now, we are upgrading the arsenal by $1.7 trillion, and what those monies can do. Instead of upgrading, we have plenty of nuclear weapons. I think many of us would agree that we have too many as it is. We had 50,000 more than we do now in the Cold War, and we were able to, through negotiations with Russia at the time, Gorbachev and Reagan, get rid of 50,000 weapons. And so there are 13,000 left. I think it's 13,000 too many in the world. And there are 9 nuclear-armed states, including the U.S., that own all of these weapons. And the other states, 121 other states, have agreed as of January of 2021, through the Treaty of the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, that these weapons should not exist and we should not be using them. So it's international law that these weapons should not exist, and we still, as a nuclear-armed state, still have them. So I'm trying to make it brief. We have the opportunity, as, Boston is a major city, and we can easily be a target of a nuclear strike. And so local communities are absolutely entitled to a voice on this conversation because we can be devastated by these nuclear weapons. I do have the support of Representative Patrick Kearney and State Senator Patrick O'Connor, who've helped me bring this to the state level legislature, the state legislature, and it's not just me, it's many of us across the state of Massachusetts who care about peace and preventing war. The state legislature had it as a resolution on the docket, but it didn't make it out of committee, so it's going to go back into discussion. But these two, Representative Kearney and State Senator Patrick O'Connor, have been really voices of reason. State Senator Patrick O'Connor actually co-authored the resolution at the state level, and I'm hoping he will give us a quote or show up to town meeting. We'll see if that happens. And so part of our responsibility is to amplify the voice of our citizens. I know a lot of people say that this is not a local issue, but I would really strongly argue otherwise. It's our opportunity to amplify that voice and to make our voice known as part of this growing movement. And I have a couple of quotes I just wanted to read. One is, these are from towns that have already passed resolutions like this. This is from a woman in Dover, New Hampshire, who said, "We are a fiduciary body and we're supposed to be taking care of our city. But there won't be a city to take care of if we don't find a way to make that state, federal government listen to the citizens. This may seem like an empty gesture, but it's not. Standing matters. How we feel as a city matters." Also, a BU biology professor who lives in Brookline, and Brookline also passed a resolution like this, said, "The key thing is that the more people who understand and appreciate the gravity of the situation and speak out and try to oppose the promulgation of these weapons, the more likely that is we will be moving in the right direction." And lastly, an Oregon state rep said, "At this moment in time, when the risk of nuclear war is higher than any time since the Cold War, we must do everything we can to work for nuclear disarmament." And I just want to close by saying that it's absolutely shocking how much money we spend on nuclear weapons and the programming every year. We spend $5 million an hour on our nuclear weapons programs in the U.S. So for Marshfield, what that means, if we add up all of our tax dollars that go towards nuclear weapons programming, individuals, it's $8.2 million a year. And it's really a shame that we're putting that into war and not, all the good things that can happen. So happy to answer questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions on this article? Okay, and just so you know, the advisory board does not have a recommendation on resolutions. That's been the policy. So, seeing none, thank you very much for your time. Well, okay, go ahead.
I just have a statement.
Question,
I
name and address.
Eric Kelly, Pizza Path. I do understand Anna Baker's resolution here and all of that in the threat to mankind. I think the biggest threat to mankind right now is the current vaccines that are out to fight COVID.
All right, that's beyond the scope, so.
That's all right, just want to get it on the record.
Okay, there you do. Any further questions on this article? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time, appreciate that. Moving on to Article 14, which is another citizen's petition. Is that person here? Carrie Harrison, thank you very much. Look at that. No, okay. All right then. Michael, do you have anything on that at all?
So it involves, I know just a little.
Okay.
There's an island in Plymouth Ave, intersection of Plymouth Ave and 139, and they want to have a sprinkler system put in there. DPW normally doesn't allow sprinkler systems on the islands, and I know DPW is here. I'm sure Tom or Commissioner Carrier might want to offer some comments.
Do you have anything on it?
Dave Carrier, 34 Oakland Road, Chair of the Board of Public Works. We voted 2-1 at the Board of Public Works against installing a sprinkler system in this, automatic sprinkler system in this island. The only reason it has water at all is the simple fact that there is a hydrant already on the island, and that was where the hand watering connection was made.
Okay, great, thank you. Any further questions on Article 14? Yes, you may.
I don't want to make a record, but why is it you voted against that resolution?
We actually have a water bylaw prohibiting automatic sprinkler systems on islands and other public property that aren't associated with a building or ball field.
One follow-up to that.
Yep.
So they have a water source with a hydrant. Could they put a time of sprinkler, or does that come under that?
We prohibit automatic sprinkler systems by bylaw.
Water. How many islands do we have? This one just passed.
The only island in town that actually has water, it's a hydrant. And that's the only reason why we allowed them to put a hose.
We opened up the floodgates for all residents to run water there.
Right?
I'll have to go behind.
Off the top of my head, you know, Anne Marie Sacchetti maintains our Adopt an Island program. She would have that information.
I had an account when this came before us, the first time they came before us, and I had approximately 11 to 12 islands that I felt would be coming back at us looking for the additional water connections, which would not be doable simply because there was no hydrant sitting there. But they would request it, and then it would require installation.
Great, thank you. You have a question?
Yeah, Eric Kelly, Piece of Path. I've been following this, and if I remember correctly, at the last Board of Public Works meeting, well, actually, the first one, they were saying it was a policy. And the second one, I believe Mr. Carey came back and said there was no policy. So now he's saying it's in the bylaws, so I'm trying to understand.
Do you have the
Mr.
answer?
Chairman, I can
Yes.
answer that. Okay. Actually, I had looked at the Board of Public Works policy. It was within the water enterprise bylaws, specifically stated, and initially the supervisor didn't realize because it said automatic sprinkler system, and I think he thought of it as a fire protection. And in discussion, I said, no, why would we ever prohibit an automatic fire extinguishing system anywhere?
Right.
In looking back and doing some digging, he discovered that it was originally put in when the Adopted Island program came in specifically.
Great, thank you. Answer your question? Okay, thank you. Any further questions on Article 14? All right, thank you, everybody, for your time today. The meeting is adjourned. Oh, hold on, what?
You're gonna announce the meetings?
Oh, okay, the advisory board will be meeting on the 4th of October at the town hall, voting on these article warrants. Yeah.
I'll give you.
It's a resolution.
Talking this article or 13?
It's a resolution.
14. 14.
It calls for the islands to be maintained by the netting and post. Then it
Oh, it
says
is?
furthermore.
No, it's not a resolution, it's an article.
It's an article,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
sorry.
Thank you, that's all right. Yeah.
I mean, you could make an amendment at,
Yeah, there's two elements.
you could make an amendment.
Okay. The petition wasn't here, so it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Mr.
So,
Chairman?
yes.
Quick question. You know, we've had Don and Sherry as, you know, consulting with
Yeah.
Public Works with regard to the advisory board questions. Is there going to be a third person or just those two?
No, there isn't.
Paul,
Oh, okay, thank you.
yep. Or it could be Mark Ford.
For this fall.
Thank you. Great, thank you.